Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Wednesday Call Live. Now, let's hear from our host, Andy Albright.
Woohoo! Thank you, Billy. Fired up today. We got a right at 4th of July conference call, Zoom call, and we've had a heck of a 4th of July still going on down here in Florida on Treasure Island. I did a little live Facebook and showed people the sandcastle that I had commissioned as a freedom tribute, and also a congratulations to my wife and I for 36 years of marriage, which we celebrated last week. So the sandcastle had 2 bad to the bone dolphins coming up. It's about a 6-foot tall sandcastle. Guy took 2 days to build it. And it's also part of a beach refurbishment project that we wanted some more sand down on the beach to look prettier as far as landscaping. So got a twofold. It's been kind of crazy. So also, the funny thing is most of that was done while I was in Argentina with my guest today, or cohort today, Mike Lewantowicz. So I don't know how it's looking to everybody, but what I'm asking is that it show us full. I've got me twice on my screen. I don't know if it's coming across on everybody's screen like that, but just what do you see, Mike? Do you see me and you?
I see you and me. So if it's set up, I'm seeing both of us side by side.
Perfect. Good deal. I've got a little more complex. I've got some added ones, but I think that is logistics to keep us going on YouTube. So me and Mike were in Argentina doing some conservation work. So if you are any duck hunters or dove hunters or fishermen out there, let me tell you something. That is a paradise for what they call wing shooters. So if you're into bird conservation of that kind, and I think there's several other kinds down there that we didn't participate in, and the fishing was unbelievable. And so we also had Cuz. So Russ Everett was down there with us, and Blair Bolin. Those of you that have been out to the cabin, y'all know Blair. But me and Mike hung out a lot, and we were just talking about different things that we've been able to do for our family, ourselves, our spouses. So Noel, what I've been able to do for Jane, and he was participating in the drama that was going on at my house when they were putting in 8 new 14-foot palm trees. Was kind of crazy. A bunch of other landscaping, and the sand castle dude came in, and all the drama involved with bringing in that much sand, and it was crazy. But we were having a good time talking about what we've been able to do for our family, and we were saying we should do a call when we get back to say, like, why can't you have what we have? So Mike Lewantowicz and Noel are the highest paid as far as overrides in the entire company right now, and got a massive income, massive residual income. There's no reason you can't have that. And then, of course, my residual income before I partnered with Integrity was quite a bit more because of the other hierarchies that I've helped put together, including Alex Abian, who brought Mike Lewantowicz into the business. So we said, so we just let the staff know, said, hey, Tia, let's make this happen. Let's get me and Mike on. So we're going to talk about really 4 big things that we know will help you: mentorship, relationships, teamwork, and travel. So we'll get into those 4 big things. But Mike, kind of give them a highlight of your view from Argentina and our little discussions in between conservation work and in between 5-star dinners and tons of bread.
Oh gosh, we start laughing, we'll take up the whole time. But I tell you what, first thing is I wake up every day and I write down some things I'm grateful for. So certainly last week was another adventure or another trip, and it was an amazing trip. But I think it's also put it in context of that wasn't the only thing that I've done or that my family's done this year. Between the trip to Ireland and then Scotland back in April, to I've had another trip where we're up in New Hampshire with my family. While you and I were away, Noel had like 5th row VIP seats for the Taylor Swift concert in Cincinnati. And then like I come back, we're here working. I was working yesterday, getting more work in. Then I've got another trip planned. So it's not the only thing that building an organization and building passive income has done. We've been able to create a lifestyle that's pretty incredible. And we're not done. Like, I think it's one is like, oh my gosh, here's a taste of what we can do. But as we're talking, it's like we also see, hey, by taking and doubling our overrides and where that can take us, is like life's good, but it could be still better. And so last week's trip was crazy. I mean, from the fact that, hey, we flew down, we had the Delta pods in the first class, flew down, having a champagne drink before we flew down, knowing the fact that, hey, we wove in some business. We were at the meeting held a meeting at the Atlanta FBO where Andy had flown in. We had about 15 people there that we asked to join us, did some training for about 3 hours and had a great time there. And then we hit the ground touring a little bit of Argentina and Buenos Aires. Then we're having this experience with, the four of us with wonderful guides that knew what they were doing, coaching us on how to get the most out of our experience, coming back, having some great meals, drinking some wine. And then even like, again, for the people wondering, what do we do with all the birds? The fact that knowing that they were giving them to poor families, we saw some of the families that they were giving the food to. So everything used, the money that we're paying, goes back into the conservation effort in that area. But just having fun, you and I sitting in a blind and trying to be quiet and then thinking of a question and trying to ask, and then them going, shh, attention, because there's incoming birds, and try to, have some fun, enjoy what we're doing with the birds. And then, just thinking of how can we get more business questions in. I'm sitting there, I'm thinking about the birds. I'm like, what's another question I can ask Andy? And I'm trying to, do that throughout the whole week. It's like, I've got this time as a mentor. That's our first line here. I'm thinking, man, okay, if I can't, it's like, I'm trying to think, what's a valuable question that I can ask? What's some more insight I can get? What's something I can share? And, it might have even been as simple as we had a lunch break and I took a couple calls from a couple of people. Like, hey, here's something. You got some more thoughts on this? And to be able to be up close with a mentor like that, you've got a relationship with, and to not just take the time for granted, but think, okay, what's another question I can ask? What's something else I can open up and talk more about? So that's, to be able to have that experience. I'm grateful for Andy for inviting me and say, here, we got this. Can you jump in and clear your calendar? Yes. But those are some first things. If I go back and I think about mentorship, I think about early on, we had Alex Abian, and he helped us out with a lot of basics. But then as we got our footing, Alex was quick to say, hey, you guys need to be talking to Andy more. And so you noticed us and you spent more time with us. And what was cool is Alex was humble enough to say, hey, man, he didn't try to keep us down and said, no, don't talk to Andy. He's like, man, Andy knows more than I do in these areas. And so you encouraged us to talk to him, and we took, he encouraged us to talk to you. You talked to us. We took advantage of that and realizing that, hey, we needed more than one mentor based on where we wanted to go and how fast we wanted to get there. So those are a few things just, off the cuff that I'm starting to think about as we talk about mentors.
Yeah, I forgot about our little stop there in Atlanta even before. Well, I would say this. Mike is like me in that he will sneak in some work. Like some people sneak in a Snickers, meaning you can't figure out how they're, where they got their weight from. Well, they're sneaking in stuff. They're sneaking in a Snickers bar. We're sneaking in another phone call, sneaking in a little text. We snuck in a 3-hour meeting because we were going to land in Atlanta on my jet. Mike was flying in commercial. We were going to join in Delta and fly to Argentina. And Mike's like, we got to do a meeting. Let's get there 3 hours early and let's do a meeting in Atlanta before we go to Argentina, which I thought was brilliant that he would sneak it in there. And I was able to talk to a new leg of mine and a new leg of Mike's, actually a new leg of Megan Woods, and a couple other people there that were really fun people to talk to. So I thought it was a really worthwhile meeting. But talking about mentors. So the first thing for you to build a big business is to understand that you need mentors in this business. So the managers that I see that are growing the fastest, they get people on this TWC every single week. So if you got Andy Riddle speaking, you got Stephen Davies, you got Brandon Manley, I want my children, I want my best friends, I want Adam Katz on this call each Wednesday, watching, learning from Mike Lewantowicz. When Adam is teaching, I want Mike Lewantowicz on it, listening to him. So we have a Thursday call, Wednesday conference call, a Thursday conference call on products, and then a Friday activity call. I would consider those calls a big portion of your mentorship. So not only do you have somebody you're talking to that has a higher view, a more broad view of the business than you, but you also need different people's personalities, coaching, teaching, mentoring you. So one of the biggest things I see with people is when they look at their hierarchy, they look at their organization, they're trying to decide who needs what in their group, like below them in their hierarchy, who needs what help, or what kind of a prescription, or what kind of a way to treat them. If you're talking to your upline, if you have a mentor that can help guide you and say, man, I don't know, maybe you should really work with this person in this area. A mentor is huge in telling you who to back off of and who to charge in with, because you get these rosy colored glasses sometimes, like Andy or Mike. Hey, Mike, this guy's great. He's unbelievable. And you're like, he's doing everything he says, everything he's supposed to do. So you take this person to Mike and you say, hey, Mike, this guy's doing everything. And Mike says, well, is he going to family reunion? And you go like, what? Well, I've only known him a week. So now you got Mike saying, well, let me reach out to him. Let's both reach out to him and book this guy into family reunion. So a mentor will increase your urgency. A mentor will guide you on where to invest more money, and sometimes back off of investing. Because if you try to give all your money to 10 different legs, you're out of money, or you're only given 1/10. But if your mentor says, focus mainly on these 3 legs or these 3 people, now you've got the assets, the money from this previous 7, pour all that onto the 3 key places that your mentor agrees you should be working. So what happens is you allocate your assets differently based on mentorship. So, I get my big mentors right now, Mark Aceta, and putting a convention together, bringing in numbers of people. Jim Henson in all the legal attributes, the carrier negotiations. I got Bob King for an attorney. I've got accountants with John Roberts. So you got to have mentors in your life that are more powerful than you. And keep this in mind. The people that have been around me, they know I've had certain mentors that I've let go along the way, because one of the things I do is I'm really, really intense on deciding who I'm listening to, and should I keep listening to them, or should I let this mentor go by the wayside as I pick up new mentors. So that's my comments that I hope you hear, Mike, and I hope everybody that I'm coaching hear the importance of mentorship. When you drew out your group for me and you were showing me different places to work and the people that your opinion of what you thought. And here's the other thing. I will tell you this. Mike is not scared to ask me what I think, because Mike is going to do what Mike is going to do. And if I disagree with him, he knows he's still got the power to run his show like he wants to run. I think a lot of people are scared of mentors because they're afraid that the mentor is not going to tell them what they want to hear, which if a mentor disagrees with you, mentor's not your boss. It's just a mentor's advice. And you get to decide if you want to execute on what was recommended to you. So Mike has never been scared. Noel's never been scared to get an opinion, but I've not seen them scared to make their own decisions regardless of the advice that was given, because they have a personal insight that they want to go on their hunch. I'm cool with that. So what you see, Mike, think about Brandon Manley, think about, guys that I'm really close to. What advice would you give them about mentorship?
I think when you have an opportunity to be around, take advantage of it. It's not always convenient. I mean, and it's just some people they'll look at things for different reasons. Like you and I you invited me on a trip to do some things back in May. We were down in Florida, and you and I and Robbie Kraft were hanging out and doing some stuff, and you invited me there, and then we had this other invitation. I could have said, well, gosh, I could have said no to one of them, saying, well, that's too much time, or I don't know if I can do it, or I don't know if I can afford it. It's like you said, hey, Mike, we'll do this. If you don't mind, you go ahead and get yourself a first class ticket. We'll sit up there. We'll have some time. And so there's always going to be a cost of time or money to get around when you've got access like that. So the first thing was I ran it by Noelle, but it was like just to let her know because she's my partner. But she was like, yeah, go do that. It will make it work. We'll find a way. We knew it was an investment of time and money to be away from some other things to do that. But it was it was kind of a no-brainer. But then it was, okay, I had an opportunity. Then it's, am I making the most of it? And I could have just gone down there and laughed and partied and say, oh, look at me, I'm hanging out. But it was like, no, I'm sitting there. You were talking most of the time in that meeting in Atlanta. And I had about 3 pages of notes, just of not so much the information, but how you were talking to people. Because I think some people can watch their mentor and they're thinking, well, I already know what he's saying. I don't need to be in here to watch this. Now I'm watching how is he delivering the message and recognizing that he's no longer playing checkers, but he's playing chess or 3-dimensional chess, and watching how he's making the moves. And then afterwards saying, hey, I noticed you did this and not this. Let me ask you, what were you thinking here? Or what'd you think about this person? So I've got more stuff to talk about. So the first thing is taking full advantage of the time when it's presented to you. And then go in with the mind of like, okay, I'm here. I'm going to watch. I'm going to study. I'm going to learn from this sucker. Like I'm going to get my money's worth and my time worth, and do so in a nice way. Recognizing also that meant me being quiet and listening a lot more, and then choosing my time to speak or questions says I'd rather be listening to you than talking to you and telling you a whole bunch. And sometimes that's tough because when we have an ego, we all want to share and talk about our story. So part of it's like, how do I restrain my ego and realize, hey, there's a time to talk and a time to shut up and listen and take notes. And really, how do I get the most out of this? And then even as you find somebody, so if, again, it's not be guarded against familiarity. It's like I'm trying to be on my best behavior too. As much as we're having fun, I'm trying to be in a behavior that's allowing me to be invited back. It's like I want to leave that time with my mentor and have him feel good about the time we're having. So he's like, okay, I feel good about inviting him back. And I'm trying to make sure I'm being as good a guest and what can I do to bring to the table when I'm sitting there working with somebody that's mentoring me. You set a hell of an example. You talk about me sneaking in calls, but I mean, it's like, again, you're sending voice to text, voice memos, responding to emails throughout the day. And, and I guess I was too at times, but you're setting the pace. And I think you set a heck of an example on how to live a dream, meaning the dream is we've got the time to do this, but we still have a responsibility to keep it going so we can be all in on having fun, but taking the responsibility to take some time to do this or sneak this in. Just because we say we're having a trip doesn't mean we shut down the rest of our life. We're still talking to our spouse or our kids, or we're taking care of people in our business and making some time for that. We're not leaving our business derelict and just hoping things continue on, because things can fall apart quickly if you take on that kind of an attitude. I think you just show a great stewardship for the business and relationships that you have and aren't afraid to jump into it. So I think you set a good example. I think that's part of how do you know you've got a good mentor, because they're setting an example at the same time I'm there watching.
Well, one of the things I love about Mike Lewantowicz is like these are trips of a lifetime that a lot of people would just see it as a trip of a lifetime. There's no cost to it. Whereas there is a cost that Mike is dealing with, time away from his wife, time away from his children, time away from his business. So there is a cost to going on a fabulous trip. I have had to say no, as much as I hate to, I've had to say no to world-class, once in a lifetime opportunities. Mike had to say no to another opportunity he was invited on because of previous family commitment. And what I like is that Mike truly values his time. He doesn't just say, yep, I'm going with you, man, no matter what. He values his time and makes a deliberate choice about it. So, hey, before I get to, I've got two of these things that you can hover over with your camera. You get all the information for family reunion tickets, which, by the way, this thing is shaping up to be absolutely phenomenal convention coming up next weekend. Not this weekend, but next weekend is coming up, so you can get registered and locked in. And then the other one is all my social media, my contact information. And when you put in your contact information, it gives the system actually provides me with your contact information too. So there it is, right there in front of you. If you need it, I ain't scared. I ain't hiding. I'm looking for input. You know, Mike, too, when you talk about mentorship, it is funny how people that don't have something to talk about will text me. And then people that have really big businesses coming on and have a great person, they don't let me know about them. And they say something like, I didn't want to bother you. I know you're busy. Versus the smaller people that contact me all the time and they really don't have anything to talk about. But if you're bringing on somebody like Kevin Lewis, you're bringing on somebody like Stephen Davies, or you're bringing on somebody like Angela Hoke, or you're bringing on somebody that's sharp, ambitious, got an education, whether it's military, whether it's street smarts, whether it's a PhD, whether it's a master's degree. And some people just don't contact their mentor with the urgency that they should. So I'm kind of asking Mike's people to reach out quicker to Mike if you're building a business. You know, if you're dealing with new people in your hierarchy and you're coming across great people, I would encourage you to go to Mike more often and quicker, not wait. Let him complain. So, you're contacting me too much. Oh, you're asking me to do too much. If Mike's not complaining, then Mike wants more of you to contact him. One of our marketers, Chanel, I took her on a trip and just really spent a lot of time talking to her. And then all of a sudden she quits bringing me the poorer candidates. The candidates are not as likely. All of a sudden she's bringing me aggressively the higher caliber candidates, and she gets the importance of bringing them to myself and the other marketers around the country. So I just want to encourage y'all to go to Mike quicker. All right, so the next big subject is relationships. So first of all, get yourself a mentor. Make sure you're spending more time with your mentor, and then learn how to build relationships. And in the beginning, relationships do take a lot of time. You're getting to, even on the interview, if you're building a business, you're building a relationship. And trust in relationship is built over time by you doing what you say you will do. So if you're talking to a person, today's Wednesday, so you're having a conversation with a new person in your business. First of all, if you had the conversation this morning, I hope you tried to get them on this Zoom call to meet me and Mike. I hope you really tried hard. The next thing is, if they're fired up, you need to talk to them again tonight, again in the morning, and as often as they are excited to hear from you, you should keep in touch with them and keep nudging them along to get through class. Who have you talked to? Who have you suggested that they get in touch with me as far as this business? It's a nonstop dialogue, relationship building when you think you have the right person. Let me see if I can do screen share. I want to kind of get into, see if I can pull this up to where you guys can see it. I think I can. We shall see. All right. Can you see the screen, Mike?
Yes, I can.
All right. So this would, the way I see this would be you in that, this center one here with all the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 legs coming off of it. So what you're doing here is you're looking at all of these people in your hierarchy and deciding who do you spend the most time with. All right. So let me see if I can. All right. So now you're describing to your mentor each of these people that you're talking about. You're describing each one of these people and trying to decide. Now, it ain't complicated here. This one right here who's hired 4 wide. This one right here who's hired 4 wide. This person and this person, you need to be spending more time. They've identified themselves. Now, let's say if a couple of the other ones are starting to sell, let's say they're starting to run 10 or 12 appointments a week. So the more activity that a person has, regardless of success, the more activity they have, you've got to work harder to build a relationship with those people. And the way you build a relationship is do what you say you'll do so they start to trust you. But it's also getting involved in their life and finding out that they've got a child with disabilities, finding out that their mother or their father has health concerns, or their father wants them and be involved in business with them. It's getting involved with more of their personal life so that you can walk with them through life. You think about the people that I'm close to that have the biggest businesses. Alex Fitzgerald, Alex Abian, Adam Katz, very involved in their entire life. Children, marriage, investments in houses, investments in anything outside of the investments in their business, but other investments too, cautionary things. I've been through this before. I don't want you to go through it. So talk about a little bit, Mike, of what you see in relationships as far as understanding how quickly you need to build a relationship and why to do it and how to do it, Mike.
I think you talk about quickly. So the first thing, the relationship starts for me. If it's a with interview, it starts in the with interview, and I'm getting to know the person. I'm getting them to talk about themselves based on where they're from, their family education. I'm learning about them and I'm paying attention. I take notes because I can't remember all the time. But I'm getting them to talk about themselves, and I'm first evaluating that person. Mark, I said, it talks about, hey, are they a 2 or an ace or somewhere in between? I'm trying to assess how good are they as a candidate. And then I'm learning about them. And next time I talk to them, I'm asking some more. Maybe I go into a layer of depth about something else. I had a guy interviewed today. What have you done that's competitive? Recent college grad. He says, I was an Eagle Scout. Well, I know that to be an Eagle Scout, you have to do an Eagle project. So I asked him to talk about his Eagle project. Did he start talking about it? So getting people to talk about something that's important or that they're passionate about. It could be their kids. It could be whatever, but identifying a passion and being intensely curious about it. So if it starts by, on that initial phone call, spending time and being intensely curious, and then just paying attention and remembering. And then it's making sure every time I talk that it's not just about business. In fact, business should be the second thing I talk about. It's, hey, what's going on with them? I don't just ask them, how many apps did you write today? It's, hey, what's going on? What's new with you? How's your wife doing? How's your dog? Hey, you told me about this project. You had this trip. Whatever it is that I can engage with them on every conversation starts with a little bit about them before I just go right into business. And it's how can I deepen my understanding? Then the next piece is, I think about relationship is when you notice something that is bigger, that may be an uncomfortable conversation, or maybe it's a topic, but you know it needs to be had, to be able to just ask about the elephant in the room. So as you notice and just be able to ask, and again, the more you build trust because you're doing the things you say you're going to do. So when I bam fam every conversation, so I'd get done talking to the guy today, we booked our next conversation. And then from there, it's like, okay, I show up for that conversation. So I'm building trust because I said I'm going to call, and then I call at that time. I think that's the next piece is, hey, I don't take that. I make sure I have reminders so I don't forget to call. And that we start to build trust with just showing up and then remembering, okay, who is this as a person? How do I empathize? How do I know where they're going? Then the next phase is when they come to an event or I meet them somewhere. So like at family reunion, I had a couple I talked to the other day who got their tickets to Miami Monday night. It's somebody I've built a relationship for a year. They've not sold a policy yet. Now they've got a leg that sold a few policies, but suddenly something's changed where now his wife licensed, they want to make time to be at the conference. Never been to an event, got a leg that's selling, sharp couple, making money, timing's right. I said, look, y'all got your tickets, good. I want to make sure I have a meal with you. So now Noelle and I are going to make sure we have a meal with this couple, whether it's Thursday evening or Friday morning or sometime. We're going to spend more time with them because we like who they are. We think they're sharp. And we're going to get to know them even better. It didn't maybe make sense because they weren't available. We're looking for people ready, willing, and available. Now that they're more available, they're certainly willing and they're ready and they're capable. We're going to go spend some more time with them and get to know them a little bit better. So breaking bread with people and going in with the idea of learning and spending time with them, that's another piece of the relationship side.
Okay, so I started to draw something out here, Mike, and I hope you're following it. You can see my things where I've got Marcus Rich and James Dave here, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if this is you that I'm coaching, you up here at the top, this is you right here. You're looking at this you look at these top 6 people you've hired. So I've got this one highlighted because they're selling, trying to recruit. This one right here, clearly we built some trust, which led to one recruit, which led to another recruit, this Marcus Rich guy. So after you start working down, you want to go straight down here to Marcus yourself, and not a lot of people that try to pass the information to here and tell them to pass the information to here and tell them to pass the information to here. I'm saying you got to go straight down here to them. You're not cutting out anybody. You just want that communication to be, as bold as it can be. Let me do this differently. You want this communication to be as bold as you can be, straight at them. Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't want it to be softened. You don't want it to be changed. You want to talk to this person and sell them on association, sell them on the Wednesday call, sell them on the product call, sell them on getting through class quickly, sell them on family reunion. Because think about this. You look at this guy right here. He's only hired one person, and that person has only hired one. You, on the other hand, have went 6 wide. You're selling. You're hiring more people out here. You continue to hire more people out here. And this guy's only hired one person. So you don't trust, but you just don't leave it. You don't delegate it. You go directly to this person right here, Marcus Rich, and you start helping him develop his team. And you're helping him to decide which one of these people down here is the best person or most likely. Because if Marcus tries to invest in all of these people, his money is diversified or it's diluted. But if he puts all of his attention into this person that you've come down here and you look and you see and you go, I'm telling you, Marcus, this is a standout. This is a star right here. So now Marcus is mentoring with you. You go to your mentors, whether it's Mike up here or whether it's Adam Katz or whether it's Mark Cassetta or whether it's me that you're talking to, whoever you're talking to, we go, we agree, you need to go down here to Marcus Rich, and then you need to help evaluate each one of these people. Now, relationship takes time and it takes energy and it takes money. And if you're trying to build a relationship with this person, this person, this person, this one, all of a sudden you have no time. And that's where people get frustrated. They're trying to build relationships with the wrong people as opposed to the right people. So you say, Andy, why do you think this is the right person? Well, if he's selling, he's recruiting, he's talking to me, he's going to the conventions, and in the beginning, he's got a college degree, he's got a master's degree, he's married successfully, he's got a kid successfully, he's got a nice clean house. You go to his house, you're evaluating all these people that you've hired in WIT. You're evaluating everyone you've got and deciding if they're the right ones to work with. And it's very difficult in the beginning because they kind of all look alike. They're all just a red circle. Or let me see if I can do this real quick. Share. New share. Yeah, I'm going to go to this one. All right. Can you see a new screen, Mike, with just 6 people?
Yes, it's there.
Yeah. So now you sitting here going, you're sitting here. This is you right here. And you're just looking at these people and they all look the same. Somehow you've got to judge which person to put that time into. And if you do it based on your rose-colored glasses or your dookie-colored glasses, you might pick the wrong person to spend all your time with. But if you've got a mentor and another mentor and another mentor, they can say, yeah, this looks like your person right here. So you can still help this person, but we're telling you this one's more likely to succeed. So now you have more resources going into that person instead of trying to spread it equally among all 6 people. Because somebody is going to break out and it's going to look more like this. Did it switch screens, Mike?
No, you've got,
okay,
I got the 6. Okay, now
it does, right?
Yep.
So it goes from 6. More than likely, the effort was put into, more than likely there was more money spent here and here and here and here. Okay, does that make sense? So you'll usually see the results coming. You go, well, what if a person just takes off and you didn't help them? Well, then you was wrong. You should have been helping that person because they've got results. So now you got to switch and come over there and say, hey, let's go out to dinner. Let's talk. Let's build a relationship. All right, Mike, hope my drawings make some sense and maybe you can do some clarification on them.
So yeah, I think there's a couple of things that kind of hit me. So when you're first starting, if you go back when we're just the first 6, it's like you need enough width to discern. I think a mistake that some people make is they find one person and they're trying to force that one person. So instead of having 6 to choose from, they might have 1 or 2 to choose from because they're not doing enough interviewing to find enough people. So if there's one mistake people make, it's like they're trying to, I found my one, I'm going to make them fit. And then they get frustrated because they put all this time trying to make the one fit, whereas you need enough to choose from. Because how you have no basis for comparison, no basis for competing. And so you're just stuck with one. They may be good or bad, but you have no idea. So that's probably the first thing is you need enough to choose from. And then it's having some urgency to work hard to find several to work with. And I can remember at first you'd be like, you're wondering, okay, I know I've talked to a bunch of people, but I don't seem to have found anybody. And even sometimes we naturally find a bunch of good people to work with right away. Sometimes you have to grind and you feel like an idiot because you're like, man, I know I'm interviewing, I'm talking. And then I would challenge somebody, if you're struggling there, to get with somebody that's good at putting in with. Maybe there's something that you're doing that's just annoying the crap out of people that's blocking you from having a chance. You know, I've got two guys that are sitting here today that have driven and taken time to be here watching me interview and talk. And so kudos to them because they're trying to get better at putting in that with. So we're building a relationship here and they're watching me build relationships with other people. And hopefully we're going to pinpoint what they're doing wrong or what they can do better to get more with. So that was the first thing that hit me. The second thing is, if you're like, Mike, I'm getting wit, but I'm not getting depth. Okay, well then what's the quality of relationship or the quality of time you're putting in with the good people that you're finding? I'd be like, so are you likable? Are you serving them? Are you making yourself available when they need help? Are you anticipating what they might need? And are you getting coaching on how to do that? And then here's the next thing that I have to fight this trap. Am I only focusing on getting them licensed and selling, or am I looking for multiplication? And this is where, again, for a guy like me that's process oriented and focused on wanting to get somebody selling, I have to be reminding myself that to build a massive organization, I need multipliers and I need multiplication, not just addition. And if I add one person that's selling, that's amazing. If you don't have one yet, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, this is working. But how quickly can you graduate from addition to multiplication and finding the person that also wants to build a business? And encouraging somebody and learning while they're getting licensed. Hey, who else have you talked to about this business? Who else is someone sharp that you know? Do you understand the power of overrides and understand that while I'm building the relationship, I'm expecting to find somebody that wants to lead me somewhere. And so if you're like, okay, I've got enough people to choose from, I've found some sharp ones, I'm not getting traction at finding a multiplier. It's like, okay, are you looking intentionally? Are you talking about it and changing how and what you say and not just doing the quick piece of only teaching them to sell? So that's some stuff I thought of when we talk about working down in depth. I can use an example. Jen Miller's got a lot of good things going on, and she's at the deepest part of one of our legs. And she does a great job of sharing what's going on and taking coaching. And she does not get offended if I'm working in depth and I'm working around her. I work through her, but I work around her. And there's people that she's led me to that I am talking to, and I send her an update. Here's what's going on. And she knows enough not to feel like she has to come in after me unless I say, hey, can you help them with their contracting? Can you help them with this? Here's the next thing I'm going with. So when you've got a leader and you start working with them, coach them on how to help but not get in the way if you're working a little bit in depth or around them. And if somebody's working in your depth, oh my gosh, be grateful. I have some people, I think they're intimidated when somebody gets into work with their team. They're like, oh man, they're going to mess us up. Oh man, they're going to take the credit. Oh man, I'm not going to be the star. Hold on a second. If you grow faster because you've got someone better than you or as good as you working in your depth, have an hallelujah breakdown. Be fired up to have someone there. Feed them as much information. It's like I fight to get Andy talking to some of my people. I'm grateful. And so if I had more people fighting to get Andy's attention or Alex Abian's or mine or Noel's, it's like that would be amazing. And if you're putting in with, you want somebody down there, because I'd much rather have two people working in depth in my group than only me. So those are some things that kind of hit me.
All right, so here we go. This is you, and you start hiring people. Some people get frustrated with this person, the first person, second person, third person. What you really should be doing is evaluating this one, versus this one. So it's a comparison game, just like if you were a coach for a basketball team and you recruit this kid, you recruit this kid, you recruit this kid. You recruit them and you say, I need for you to be here at this time. Well, this kid shows up on time, dressed, ready to play, jumping up and down, excited, there early, fired up out of his mind, practicing. So you're not trying to make the first kid you hired as a coach, you're not trying to make him into a superstar. You're trying to find somebody that's intelligent that will jump in without you having to make them. So it's your evaluation of everybody. Now, before they do anything, there are hints. There are hints. For example, if I'm talking to someone and they like athletics, they like to go to games, if they like hunting, if they're an engineer, if they're like Mike Lewantowicz, if they're like Andy Riddle, who played basketball in college, if they're like somebody that's kind of like me, if they're like Adam Katz, then I am going to favor that person. And a lot of people go like, I want to treat all my people equal. The problem is if you give this person equal attention as this person, when this person who deserves it is frustrated because you can't take a phone call from them because you're on a phone call with this one that's not performing. So you want to be ready and available for the ones that are going to perform. So all of a sudden, this person goes from being the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th person. This one actually right here becomes your number one person. They become your number one because they're the one that's doing the most stuff. And you say they'll do anything I say. Well, then let's definitely help them hire more people. If they're doing everything that you tell them to do, let's talk to them about who we can hire. Now you're starting the same process all over again. You're looking at who this person hired, and you're evaluating this group of people right here. You're evaluating them, and you and this new superstar you got are both communicating to decide where you're going to put more effort and energy. So like if this is you right here, you found this person and you got Mike Lewantowicz as your mentor, you and this person want to get whoever's the sharpest, the strongest that you can contact, that you can get in touch with. You want to get this person to Mike Lewantowicz so that Mike can put more energy into the one that's more fertile. You get Mike to put more attention in the one that's more likely to succeed. So now all of a sudden you get another leader on your team. And you know, the other thing, Mike, that I see here is the urgency or lack of urgency, how quickly you finally found this guy. You finally found this super stud person here. You finally found this guy right here. You found him, and you mess around and wait 2 or 3 days or a week to get him in touch with Mike Lewantowicz. You need to be moving fast to get him to Mike. The earlier in the business you can get this superstar to the leader, the quicker that leader can get to them and get them to explode and set more of an example. Say that in a Mike Lewantowicz sort of way, Mike.
So when you find somebody, whether it's in depth or in width, and they're moving, if you're still learning how to move, I think one of the things, the mistakes people can make, and you had to help me get my mind right on this, is so often the way we want somebody to get started, or the way we expect somebody to get started, is the way we got started. The problem is you're not going to hire anybody like you, and everybody is going to be different. And so you're going to need help discerning what does this new person need. you can't just say treat them all the same, because there was a point in time where I just figured, I do the same for everybody. I have the same checklist. I do it the same. There's elements of getting somebody started that are the same, but it's knowing how to adjust for a person and where they're at that takes some guidance. So that's the first piece of where you want to tie somebody in and get some coaching. Now, the urgency of it. When you find somebody that's good, and one of the guys I'm sitting here with, he's probably going to laugh because it's like he talked to somebody last Thursday. I said, great. It sounds like a sharp guy. Yeah, he's moving through class. I said, when did you talk to him? Last Thursday. I said, when do you talk to him again? Tomorrow. I'm like, oh my God. I said, we probably need a body bag. You're going to have to pick up the corpse. He might have died. I mean, and so when you've got someone good, pour more on faster. And then the person's like, well, yeah, maybe I'll think about doing my class. Yeah, that's the one you might talk to a week from now or 2 weeks or whatever it is. But the person is like responding and moving more faster, and then call someone that's good that can help you. That's when you reach out to your mentor. But they're in Argentina. I don't care if he's a good mentor and he's got any kind of cell service, he's going to respond back to you. Right? And so don't worry about who you're reaching and if you think they're available or not. If you find a good one, send up a flare, get some attention, find a way to get more resources around that when it happens. And again, if you don't hire one person, it may be tough, but once you start to hire a few, your sense of what's an ace or king or queen look like, and when you start to pick up on that, okay, ask. Oh, here's another thing. If you're still confused of what's a good one look like, then ask, hey, Mike, I'm evaluating this person. I think they could be a 10, jack, queen, whatever you want to value you want to put on them. Okay, get them on the phone with Andy or Stephen Davies or Andy Riddle. Say, hey, what do you think of this person? And they might tell you, well, based on this and this, I think they're this, and here's why. I think you undervalued them. I think you overvalued them. You know, I had somebody say, well, Mike, they seem kind of like a smart ass. I said, well, that's good. I said, I'd much rather have a smart ass than a dumbass. You know, I mean, a little bit of an edge, a little bit of cocky is good. And I'd much rather have that because that means they're strong-minded. Now, if you're not used to working with someone strong-minded, you could be intimidated. And so, you know, if we want to get out the colors, if you're used to being a golden retriever and you're talking to a lion, or if you're a yellow and you're talking to a red, you might be intimidated. That's not a bad thing. Get somebody that can guide you on how to work with them. And when you feel that they're good and they're strong, all the more reason to jump in and have a conversation. It doesn't mean when you find a good person that the timing is going to be right, or just because you call me and get them on the phone with me doesn't mean we're going to land them, right? We did not hit every bird that we shot at last week. There was a lot of shells that went out into the ether that, you know, didn't hit anything, but we were taking as good a shots as we could. And I think that's important too.
All right. So let's do this. So here's you are. You've got friends. I'm doing the friends in purple. And these friends have different attributes. Adam Katz is a school teacher. So you got one friend who's a school teacher, Adam Katz. You got a friend over here, Mike Lewantowicz, who lives in Louisville, Kentucky. You got Stephen Davies in Asheville. You got Andy Riddle's a basketball player. You got Kevin Lewis is military and the Jackson State University. You got Brandon Manley, went to NC State. So this is you, and you've got all these friends. We call this teamwork. So each person down here is going to resemble one of your friends. Get this person to meet, not just Mike Lewantowicz. Get them connected with someone they're going to relate to. Also, if you go to Alliance events and you look at the different hotspots all around the country, if you've got Andy Riddle doing a meeting in Tampa and your person is in Fort Myers, or your person is in Clearwater, you can get your people to go to these meetings. Also, people ask me, how do you get people to go to Miami, family reunion? Well, can you get them on a free Zoom call? can you get them on a meeting that's local to them? So you're trying to get them to the family reunion that they got to get a plane ticket, hotel room, and a ticket for admission to the event. How about if there's a meeting in Kansas City? If you can get them to that free meeting that's in Kansas City, then as a peer pressure, we can do a better job of getting them to go to the big meeting in Miami. So using teamwork, using the assets. Mike, you were talking about your buddy, something you were saying he didn't do everything by himself or something. You used teamwork. What was that analogy you used?
So he's got a car wash. He's a manager and got an ownership stake in the car wash. And he was talking about a friend of his that he was trying to get through the class. And he's like, man, I'm talking to them and they just don't seem to be moving. And what I realized is that he's been the only one talking to his friend. He's not got his friend to come around the team. He's not sold them on being around. They might have been around once, but really never again. And so the first lesson I learned is, well, part of the problem is the best kind of pressure is peer pressure. And while you're their buddy, they need some more friends that are peers that they'll develop a relationship that'll nudge them along. So that was the first thing I said. You're trying to do this on yourself and you're not allowing teamwork to work for you. And he happens to own this car wash. I said, okay, so how many cars a day are you moving through? He's like, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 cars a day. I said, okay, do you wash every one yourself? I said, no, we got equipment, we got staff. It's like, it's a process. I said, okay. I said, well, that's the problem is you're not running your insurance business like you are in your car wash. You're trying to do it all yourself. I said, so it takes a bunch to wash the car, equipment and people. I said, and for us as agents, we sometimes need our brain washed. I was like, so you're trying to wash all these brains by yourself, but so you're going to need a team and allow that. So it's my conversation to him is learn to sell people on being around the team so they can build the relationships, so the relationships and teamwork can help you. Because if you're trying to do it all yourself and you're still learning, it's going to be highly inefficient. You might figure it out, you might make it, but you're going to go through a lot of pain. And like my first day of trying to hit those doves, I was a mess. It took me a while to get my aim and learn my shots. I needed some guidance and coaching, a lot of trial and error. It'll take a lot of trial and error if you try to do it by yourself.
I like it. So if you're trying to get a person to sell, you're trying to get a person to recruit, let me take it down a notch. Try to get them on a free Zoom call, like a free product call tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Friday at 10 a.m., there'll be an activity call. Try to get them on that. It's very easy. It's very inexpensive. It's very free. So you've just employed teamwork by getting a person to listen to somebody else teach besides you. And there are people that they feel like they're the only one qualified to teach their people. And it's like you're keeping your people in a little mud puddle as opposed to a river or opposed to a huge pond or a huge lake or an ocean. And I get in the beginning, you want to be careful with people, but you got to eventually let your people become adults and jump on the conference calls. Me, I want people on the conference. If I hire somebody that I know, friend of mine, I want them on every single call day one, because I believe, like right now we got like 10 days before our family reunion. Every single time I can get them on a call, a Zoom call, one of these meetings, I think I got a better shot at getting them to Miami. And I know it'll change their life. I know it'll change their business, but I've got to start with the little stuff. And I even use, if I got people right now that I'm trying to work on to get them to come to Miami, or I'm trying to get them to sell, I will use teammates to try to get them to do what I want them to do to change their life. All right. So let's go here. What I've drawn here is I'm saying you've built this business This business right here, you've built it and it's smoking. Well, now it's time for you to go out and put in brand new legs. So you want to come out and start another organization. Now, anybody you've got here can come alive, but you're working down in here. You're working over here, and you're nice to all these people. You might be working hard here. You're coming down in here, but you start taking your time now to go ahead and put in 6, 8, or 10 new legs while you're still handling this business. You're handling this business while you start to expand and put in new businesses. And a lot of times, this is where you have staff, secretaries to help deal with some of the administrative situations that are going on so that you can go over here and start with all this new business opportunity that's brand new to your organization. Does that make sense, Mike? I think people miss that they need to stop, hire a bunch of people, work, get it started, and then start putting in some more with, and use the teamwork, use your mentor, use the relationships that you can back off a little bit and go put in more with for higher profitability. Yeah.
And I think we talk about, everything comes back to the 18 player steps, right? Which are what we talk about, the 8 steps to success and getting rolling. And we talk about, the books, audios, and events. And so sometimes we just say, well, here's the 8 things you need to do them. And I think as you get smarter in your business, it's like, okay, how do I sell them on this one thing? So sometimes we just say, well, we'll just tell them about the book. We'll just tell them to read it. See, yeah, but it's like saying, well, I told them about it once. I hope it sticks. But if I see somebody I sense they're not listening to some at all, I say, hey, by the way, I know you was talking about the IUL stuff. I said, dude, did you see this? Did you see the audio book? Have you listened to that? I said, oh my gosh, I gave that to a guy the other day who's a potential client. He listened to that, and now he's got me running an appointment. I said, you need to hear this. I'm going to find a tricky way to get this guy to want to listen to an audio. And then if he does it, then I'm going to find another one or whatever it is. Sometimes we have to be a little bit smarter to get somebody to use these tools so that we can build a massive business. There was a time when I thought I was, again, the arrogant, smart side of me thought I could be everything that every agent needed. And once I got over that, started to realize the power of books, tapes, audios, and relationships. Like, I used to be the guy that wanted to show somebody how to do an IUL illustration. Well, now that I know we got Gina, or we got some videos that Gina's done, I'm going to point them to those tools or someone else that's smart and take up that time so I don't have to spend it. Same thing with Medicare stuff. I'm going to find tools that I can employ. And so if people are open to using these and I can sell them on it, I will be more efficient. And so whether it's a meeting, whether it's a book, whether it's an audio or a video, learning to be smart instead of just saying books, tapes, and events or books, audio, and events. It's like, okay, yeah, get smart at getting somebody to 1 or 2 and getting them to see the value and then build on that.
Yeah, I think also we forget how in the beginning we were so clueless. So you tell a person, plug in. Do they know what plug in means? Well, I told them it means get on the meetings, on the Zoom calls. Okay. Did you send them a reminder today? Well, I shouldn't have to I know you shouldn't have to do. But in the beginning, you just got to keep in mind, in the beginning, they like a little plant. A little plant, as it comes up out of the ground, can be destroyed with all the energy and enthusiasm. It just comes up out of the ground. It's going to grow. Not enough water, too much heat, not enough nutrition, not enough help. It just gets lucky if the plant survives, unless somebody, the gardener, the farmer, is there to help. So when you get a new person that's starting out right, and then you don't remind them to get on a call, or you don't call and say, like, man, you got to get on this call. Mike Lewantowicz and his wife, Noelle, are going to be teaching these people, multimillionaires. They've been with me 23 years. You got to get on this call. So a verbal reaching out to them, a text follow-up that sends them a link, and just selling them on association and hanging out with the right people. That will keep them from getting destroyed by a mother, an aunt, a girlfriend, a friend who goes like, insurance. I know people that got in Prime America. I got people that got in New York Life, American Income, and hated it. And now all of a sudden you've lost a person. So they came in with enthusiasm and excitement. But then when they heard this negativity, because they weren't on conference calls and they weren't hanging around, they just pass out. They die. They die. Or as Mike says, you get a body bag because they're dead. So it's called constantly getting in touch with them. So to go further on that subject of relationships and keeping a person started, is you want to be looking where you can travel in your organization. So let's say this person is let's say you're in Kentucky where Mike is. And now you've got this person in Tampa, Florida. Okay. So you hired a person in Kentucky, who hired a person in Alabama, who hired a person in Tampa Bay. Okay. So now you want to go down there and you want to fly to them and tell them to invite as many people as they can. Now, keep this in mind. You're going to build a relationship right here. That's your goal, is to build a relationship. You're also looking to find somebody underneath them that you can build a relationship with. And it's like people selling over on the phone. I got no problem with people selling virtual whatsoever. But I just know that in person, you're more likely to uncover a $300,000 of savings. In person, you're going to find out more about how clean their house is. You're going to find out how orderly the house is. You're going to find out if they'll meet you on a timely basis. So you're going to learn so much. It's there's this kind of crazy saying that I think it's Tom Sawyer. It's one of those old country people with all the common sense. He said, when you pick up a kitty cat by the tail, you're going to learn so many things about a cat that you had no idea about before you picked that cat up by the tail. So that's not good. It's going to scratch you, bite you. I go, you're going to learn a whole lot about the cat when you pick him up by the tail. So when you go to a person's house, or when you go and you spend money and you travel, you're going to learn so much more about this person than you knew before. You go, well, could some of it be negative? Yeah. You could find out all kinds of stuff when you meet them in person. What kind of car are they driving? Is the car clean? Do they have a spouse? Is the spouse negative? Is the spouse positive? Is the spouse way younger than them, way older than them? Are they really married? Do they have kids? Are they their kids? And you get the opportunity to see the network he is starting to build or not to build. You see the results in person, and you're able to shake hands, give them a hug, get a bite to eat, have dinner together. And by the way, in the beginning, I'm not so quick on a dinner. I'm more like a coffee. Let's grab a quick breakfast or something like that. I'm not spending 3 or 4 hours with a brand new person until they need to develop in that relationship more and more before I start. Not before I will travel. That doesn't have anything to do with it. People say, hey, should he get 10 people before I'm willing to go? No, go if it's just him. If he's part of your team and you see this person has potential, go get your butt out of the house and do something in person with this person and tell your mentor what's happened. Heck, your mentor might be coming down there and going before you go. If I was you, I'd be like, I want to go with you. I want to see what you say when you go down in here and talk to my person down in here. All right, Mike. Mike, I know you travel a lot. Kind of give some tips as to when you travel and what you do when you travel, conversations you have.
So even going back as that trip to Atlanta, if I know I've got to be somewhere, how can I make the most of it? So I knew we were going to be in Atlanta. I was like, I had depth in one leg. I was like, okay, I'm going to anchor on them. And then I just started talking to people. Hey, who else has got someone that's in Atlanta? I had one kid who said, hey, man, I got a good friend. He's a former NFL player. Well, that guy ended up meeting us there, right? But that was like 2 days before I had that conversation because I knew I was going to be there. So once I know I'm going, I'm letting other people on the team know I'm going to be there. And who else do you know in this area? So it's how can I get 5 scratch-off lottery tickets when I'm going in instead of just 1? So I think I had 4 legs that we were working in that room on that day because, again, I got intentional. I said, in Noel, is me, Noel, my staff, it's like, okay, hey, everybody, here's where I'm going. Let's make the most of it. And 3 days before, I was in Lakeland, Florida, and Tampa, Florida, and same thing. I think in Lakeland, I had 4 legs that I was working with. In Tampa, I had 3 legs. So it's once I do decide to go, whether I'm running more ads or talking to other leaders on the team, who else is there that I need to meet? So once I am going, be all in on how many can I connect with because I want to have more shots while I'm there. How often, or here's another tip. If I'm going to a market I'm going to fly to, it's smarter to go 3 cities in 1 week or 4 cities in 1 week than doing 1 city every week. Why is that smarter? Because if I go to 1 city, I got to buy a plane ticket to and from. It's costing me 2 flights for 1 city. If I go to 4 cities in a week, it's 5 flights for 4 cities, which is costing me 1.25 flights for every city I go to. So better to hit 4 cities in a row than go and do 1 city a week. That's my other big tip there. What else? Once I find somebody, and if we're moving them forward, plan to be back. Is it right away? No. Maybe it's based on the growth. Letting them know, hey, if you get some stuff going, I'd love to come back. Love to come back and spend more time with you, help you broaden your team. And again, part of that's based on what you're seeing, talking to a mentor, how often should I be back? If it's like we're working, by the way, Sarah Seifert, shout out to her, 2nd month of qualified DM. Just a quick shout out. That's under Jake and Ray, which is under Jared, Jerry, Joseph, Paul Epstein, Noel. So that's like another agency manager. Well, there's stuff happening in Dallas under Sarah. She's got 2 or 3 legs there. So we're working. I know Stephen Davies has been out there. I know Brandon's out there, and we're working on getting Joseph Dukes back out there, getting Jake and Ray back out there, getting Jared out there, getting Sarah out there. So now it's like, how can we get teamwork of having different voices going to the same city? How can we coordinate more with good people that want to get out there and travel and serve those folks? So that's another, I guess, travel tip. If you are the one that somebody's coming to see you, hey, the upline, they're footing the bill to be out there. If you want to invite them into your house, you're allowed and welcome to. You know, the upline leader, they're probably not going to ask you, but hey, you know, if it's going to save them money and give you a chance to get to know them better, that's something you can do. I'm not one to invite my way in. I've got some people that always invite us. I'm very grateful for that. But again, I don't like to ask because, again, I just don't want to. I don't know what's going on. Somebody may not want to have reasons. Maybe they got vicious dogs that'll eat me up, or I don't know. But bottom line is, if you're like, hey, I'd like to host somebody when they're coming in, ask. That's something you're able to do. So those are some of my travel tips.
All right. So this comes back to several things that we said, Mike, but Spencer Albright says to me, so, you know, we hit board member, right? And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, we're qualified junior board member. And I was like, what? Congratulations. He's like, you didn't know it? I was like, bro, I've got so many things going on that I really don't know. Like I say, wag your own tail or brag on yourself. Or if you've got a downline that's a new agency manager, new district manager, new board member, it's communication, because to be able to celebrate with a person. So here's the other thing. So let's say this is you, or let's say this is Spencer traveling Tampa, Atlanta, Dallas, and then back home. What you want to do is if you see that Spencer's doing that, then you need to tell all your team where he's going to, your team that's near Tampa, your team that's near Dallas, you need to make them aware that he's going to be stopping in doing a training. So then what'll happen is you can say, like, Spencer's going to be here this week. You should go and learn from him. Then 2 weeks later, I will come in there next. So the more we get, the more we get this rotation of Spencer doing a trip, and then you come in and you float around through the same 3 different cities, working with your same people. Now you get the synergy of all his success, all Adam Katz's success, so that these trips, these meetings mean more, because you go in there and it's just you. Now, last time he went to, like, Spencer went to Denver, he had all kinds of people there. Marcus Richardson's there, and Bragg is there, and it's just Ariel's there, and they're all there synergizing. And then you plan on coming in the following week. I think people miss how important it is to have our leaders traveling around. And I've got a letter coming out, Mike, to our leadership, because some people earn trips, like the New Zealand trip. They earn the trip based on their team. Well, it might be Lewantowicz traveling around and building their team. So I'm saying, basically, leaders, managers, remember this: an invite to these trips that you win off your team is not just your team. You have responsibility to travel and announce it to others around the country so that you can build everybody else's team. Because one of our hallmarks is the teamwork of doing meetings around the country. You traveling is very important to the rest of the company, not just yourself. And you've been through this, Mike, when we've had when our organization didn't travel, or certain managers didn't travel, but then the ones that end up spending the money are the ones that are doing a majority of the building. Those are the ones that we got to reward. So we've done a good job of that, but we need to keep reminding ourselves that traveling and helping other teams, not just our own team, is very critical to the success of the organization.
Yeah. That's huge. And it's like, I got my trip when I was in Lakeland. I know Spencer and Brandon had a lady that was there who worked at the same company that Katrina Gustin worked at, the Lizard Company or Gecko Company, whatever that is. And they headed off. And I think that lady was, she's getting ready to do something, but she meets Katrina, who has blossomed on the sales side. It builds this lady up, and they hit it off and connect. And again, so had I not put it out there that I was going to be there, and had Spencer not been looking at, the hot spots and being aware and not promoted getting her there, then that connection wouldn't have happened. So again, it's like fine threads, but taking advantage. I keep that hotspots tab open on my screen. So if I'm sitting at my desk or on my phone, I got it saved there. It's a quick refresh as to what's going on and if I'm talking to someone, I'm scrolling through, hey, what's planned? Where are people going to be at? And I know we got Miami coming up. So there's a few things on the docket, but watch what happens after Miami. As all the leaders open up their calendar and you start seeing travel, you're going to see several cities pop up there. It's like, I know, that today Adam Katz is in Houston, and I know that the Mathis and Gina and Mike Reese are going to be in Fort Lauderdale tomorrow, and Adam Katz is going to be in Kansas City tomorrow. So all these things I know just because that tab is always open on my browser. So anytime I talk to somebody, I'm scrolling through, I wonder if somebody's going to be there. So it's situational awareness. It's like Bill Belichick is talking to his players. What's your situational awareness? He talks about being ready for situational football. So when you talk to somebody, are you kind of sizing up when the ball is hiked? Where's the play going to go? If you're the linebacker, your head's on a swivel. What am I looking out for? What's the cue? How am I going to react?
Yeah, I just pulled up Alliance Ventures and said Adam Katz is in Houston tonight, actually this afternoon and tonight. So if you have agents in the Houston area, highly recommend you get them to go for free and listen to Adam and the other people that Adam has in Houston. You will add synergy, and your people will build relationships, and they will be more likely to go to Miami to the family reunion. Jason and Olga, Gina Hawks, Mike Marisi are all in Fort Lauderdale tomorrow. Anybody you get there is going to be more likely to go to the family reunion in Miami. So the biggest thing that I think the whole of this talk, to summarize it, is don't try to build the business on your own. I was talking to Mark Aceta about one of our leaders that I think just has tremendous potential, but it seems like the only person in his company that's doing everything is him. He's got to find another leader that starts traveling, that starts attending these meetings. It's almost like he's not, it's like he has a low expectation of his people. I've got recruiters that work in my office. I'm Hannah and Patrick and Chanel, and I'm going like, look, if we have people in Houston, we need to be really pushing them to go and meet with Adam Katz. Like, we really need them there. We have people in Fort Lauderdale. So it's a high expectation of using the team, using the alliance system to build your organization, or you're never going to have it bigger than a breadbasket. Your business is going to stay small and then you need to have your people looking at these events and these hot spots, not just you looking at the hot spots and telling them about it. But in your case, Mike, Joe Dukes needs to be looking at this, and he needs to be promoting it, because you can't do it to every one of his people. And then Jake and Veray, they need to be looking at it and promoting all their people. And Jared Gonzalez needs to be looking at it and promoting it all to their people. So each one of your key people need to learn to be leaders and pay attention to all these trips around the country and learn to get their name on the rotation, so that when I'm scrolling through and I'm seeing Adam Katz, Jason and Olga, Steve Mamarides, Andy Riddle, Cuz, when I'm looking, I need to see other people's name, because I know that they're stepping out to run their organization and build something massive.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like some people say, well, that's a lot to think about. I said, well, if you stop thinking about some of the other dumb stuff, you got more time to think about the good stuff.
100%. 100%. Well, guys, I want to wrap this up with just saying, how incredible Mike Lewantowicz, him and Noel have provided for their children, educations paid for, world-class trips to other countries. This business opportunity for your children and your grandchildren, if you will put in the time and effort and build it like we're telling you to build it, using the system, being part of the system, then you're going to love it. It can't fail. But if you try to do it your way or on your own, I've seen it happen so many times. Where people will be budding, they're starting up, and things are starting to take off in their business. They think they can do it without the system. They think they can do it without plugging in, and then everything is lost, and they have to start back all over. And I'm like, guys, I'm telling you, if you build it by yourself, it can go away. If you build it with a team, you can go down, and the team steps in and keeps your organization going. And you can also go out of the country for a month and still have your organization to continue to run if you build it with a team and with teamwork and build the relationships. And the other thing I would say before I give it to you, Mike, to wrap up is I'm going to be in Miami. You can count on me to be at the family reunion. You can count on my wife to be there, fired up. My children, my family, everybody I know, trust, and love is going to be in Miami, fighting for this team, fighting for the success of the entire alliance. So I hope to see you there, Mike, and everybody else you know and love. I hope to see them in Miami next weekend, whatever the cost, whatever it takes. I hear, well, I got this situation. Sure, you understand. I'm going to understand and be nice about it, but I really don't understand, because I'm going to be there no matter what. All right, Mike, wrap them up.
Hey, man, absolutely. I think talking about Miami is probably a huge thing in this. Probably, as someone that's building, you can have two mindsets. You can be like, oh my gosh, it's too late to do anything about it. I don't have as many people as I have coming that I want. I'll just have to work harder afterwards. No, you can have that thought process. I don't relate to it. I might have fallen victim to it before, but I had to snap out. Hey man, I still got 9 days to promote or 10 days to promote and get somebody there. And if you're like, I'm still recruiting, I'm still looking. And yeah, maybe if you talk to one person, they may not be available. But if you're talking, because you're still interviewing and you're building relationships in depth over these next 10 days and you're dropping seeds and you got your head on a swivel, you're going to find someone else that's going to be there. And they're going to pop up and they are going to do something. I've got a lady who is at the View. The person that she was supposed to be traveling with bailed, did not show up. She almost didn't go, but she showed up. And she got there, and her name's Heather, and she says, oh my gosh, Mike, I've been doing insurance my whole life all by myself. I haven't hired anybody because I never thought there was support like this. I'm blown away. She's coming back to Miami and bringing people with her that have just gotten licensed or getting started selling when she was at that precipice of saying, oh my gosh, I could have chosen not to go. And so that was a life-changing moment for her. Thank God she chose, and we coached her on still showing up. You've got someone that might be on the precipice like that. Please, please, please pay attention and reach out to them. Let's get one more there. Thank y'all.
All right, guys. Love y'all. Have a great 4th of July week. Let's keep working, smoking one more day to get one more person to family reunion. Can't wait to see y'all there. It's going to be on fire. Guarantee you lives will be changed. Thank you, Mike, for jumping in. And let's plan our next trips where we're going to be right after this convention because there's people out there that need it. I got y'all. Good in.
Take care.